no difference who you are.
Welcome back, Home Wizards here. I'm Cindy Dole.
I'm Eric Stromer.
And we're having a good time at the Grove.
We are. We are actually right in front of the American Girl store, and Curtis Stone is creating fantastic food across the way. What could be better?
It's a great day, and if you're in the neighborhood, please come by and say hi. It's a great welcome into November. I mean, yesterday was scary weather-wise.
Yeah,
and
I
today
thought we were going to get rained out.
Today is a beautiful Southern California day. It's Rose Bowl weather.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're talking about all things home and life improvement, and a big thing for your home might be collecting things and storing things that you're passionate about. And when you're here at the Grove, there's a very cool place that's put on by a guy who describes himself as a born collector. And it's called the Shine Gallery. And with us is Bernie Shine.
Hi, how are you, Cindy, Eric?
How you doing,
Good to
Bernie?
have you.
Nice to see you.
You just smile when you're thinking about your collectibles, aren't you? You are passionate about this.
Passionate is one word that's been used.
Neurotic?
Crazy? I was going to say passionate was rather kind.
Yeah.
But when you say that you're a born collector, I mean, as a kid you were collecting stuff?
My father used to take me. I grew up in northwest Iowa. We'd go across the border to buy fireworks in South Dakota. And I was as interested in having the fireworks posters as I was having the fireworks. I was always kind of a visual person.
It's in your DNA somehow, huh?
Apparently.
So what was the first thing that you became a collector of, aside
Yeah.
from the posters?
Well, when I was in college, I purchased a Mickey Mouse watch, a 1930s Mickey Mouse watch, and I sold it, and I regretted it.
Oh, darn it. Oh,
Well,
I bet you have a lot of that feeling, huh?
Well, I really regretted selling it. I went out to replace it and amassed one of the larger 1930s Mickey Mouse collections around. So that's my primary interest. But in our store here at the Farmers Market in the Grove, we specialize in vintage memorabilia that we rescue from old stores, warehouses, and factories all over the world.
So how do you get these tips? I'm always curious about this, where guys like you go out and hunt these things down. How do you find this stuff?
Well, when you think about it, I mean, people find things that are thousands of years old, so I find things that are 50, 60, 70 years old. It really isn't quite as remarkable as it seems, but we're very, very particular. We're only interested in vintage items in quantity, unused, and in vintage. And that's a very odd, it's really the only store of its kind, I think, that I know of.
And why in quantity?
Well, I got fascinated by the visual image of multiples of the same thing that, from another era, another time, another place. And also, by buying them in quantity, we're able to sell them at a, reasonable price. Most people are seeking the rarest things, and I did that most of my life. And now I'm seeking things that, it's like archaeology at the grassroots level that the average person can afford.
What's the most valuable thing you ever found that didn't seem like it was going to be worth something?
Oh my, there's a question. The most valuable thing I ever found. Well, that's hard to answer, Eric. I can tell you, people often ask me what's my favorite thing, and to that I usually say it's the last piece I found.
Yeah. But talk about your Disney passion. I mean, that's why we played that music for you, because you were sharing, as we were talking on the phone, that really is your baby.
That is my own personal favorite. And we do have some early 30s Disney things in our store as well. Some that we found in quantity and some that are one of a kind. But that is truly the heart of my own.
And why? Because you grew up with it, or just...
Oh, no, I didn't grow up with it at all. I've just never seen art or objects that appealed to my eye more than the early incarnation of Mickey Mouse. I think it's just a perfect graphic.
Do you have these things in your home?
I purchased my home to accommodate the things.
Really? You must have a big storage area.
What are the main memorabilia items that you have?
In the store?
In your home.
No, in your home.
In my home?
Yeah.
Oh, my. We have, from Mickey, it's store displays, figurines, books, toys, dolls, wristwatches. My goodness, everything that they made. There was thousands of objects that were produced in the 30s and the earliest years of the Mickey Mouse memorabilia, and I love it all.
So Walt Disney originally immediately figured out a way to mass produce some of the images from a brand standpoint and then sell them.
He hooked up with a marketing genius named Kay Kamen, and he was Disney's licensing agent. And Kay Kamen really took it to to a level that had never been seen before, and that's why there's, so I mean, there wasn't any object that they didn't, even ashtrays and cigarette dispensers and just crazy things.
Unexpected things, huh?
Unexpected things. Now, of course, when Mickey became a corporate logo later, then they stopped all of that. But, you have to remember that Walt Disney and these artists were in their early 20s at the time. So they were, kind of young, radical guys.
Before the corporate world got their claws on them, right? Those lawyers.
That's right. When they started making money, they became much more conservative.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'm just curious how you display these things because, I mean, you don't want it to look like you're living in a garage sale, right? Although I know you have been described by many of those who celebrate you as LA's best, that if Martha Stewart were to have a swap meet, your store is it. But as it relates to your home, how do you make it look neat and not like unkept with all these things?
If I can't display it, I don't want to own it. And I'm not interested in putting things in archival boxes or in garages or under my bed. That's hoarding. That's not collecting. I have to see it. And I'm very particular about displaying and, lighted showcases, and the objects really need to be seen. My home really has the feel of a museum, and I'm really very pleased with that.
Do you have pictures of your home with all these collectibles? Be fun to see.
Well, it'd be difficult to see on radio.
Well, we have them on the website. That's the whole beauty of it.
Oh, well,
yeah.
we could probably arrange that.
Please.
You know what? A great distinction you've made between hoarding and collecting. Oftentimes I think people trying to create and find ways to collect things that they've really been interested in. And it does go under the bed or it goes in the closet. And again, if you don't see it,
it's not cherished necessarily.
Yeah,
right?
and if it's in a box in the corner and there's 50,000 Dalmatian heads in the garage made out of porcelain, we don't see it, then you're a hoarder, right?
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
100%.
I'm glad you make that distinction. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because,
good
I mean,
tip.
if you have so many beautiful things, or at least some beautiful things, they should be enjoyed. For me, I collect antique radios. And I saw on your website you have some radios as well. One of them was in the shape of a rocket, and I saw in the fine print it says it may or may not work in terms of tuning in a radio station. But,
Well,
yeah?
We don't sell anything anyone needs. So
Yeah.
I'm so glad at least you're honest about it. That's fantastic.
But I love the whole idea of not only having something that has history, but that it really works too. And
well,
that
those
makes it
were
fun.
made. Those particular radios that you're referring to are rocket radios
Yeah.
made in Japan in the 1950s,
I see.
and they were pieces of junk, 70 years ago or 60 years ago. So now they're vintage pieces of junk.
Isn't that something? Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. What about the Mickey Mouse watches, though? What are the values of some of those?
Not as much as you would think,
Yeah.
because it was they were so mass produced at the time, and the survival rate was enormous, because no one, even when a watch stopped running, you wouldn't throw a watch out, you'd throw it in a junk drawer.
Right.
So, a 1930s Mickey Mouse watch just by itself is worth, a couple $100. In the original box, depending upon the model, might be worth $500-600. Now, there was a Donald Duck watch in the original box, and that might be worth, $4,000 or $5,000, because that was a much rarer and limited production watch. But the Mickey Mouse watch actually is one of the most common things.
So it has to be in its original packaging in order. It seems like the wind has picked up a bit here. It has to be in the original box for it to have more value than less, obviously, right?
Well, sometimes the boxes are worth more than the object,
Oh, wow.
because the box was the first thing to go.
And then in terms of art pieces, what kind of stuff do you have in the store that folks could come take a look at?
Well, we have posters, advertising posters. One of the things I particularly like is there was a company called Weiler Printing in Philadelphia, and we have quite a large inventory of their prints that were made to be. We have uncut prints that were advertising prints from the 1950s. So there'll be multiples of ice cream cones that were meant to hang above Woolworth's counters. They're supposed to be die cut and put above a Woolworth counter. But they have kind of a pop art look when you see them uncut. Almost like a Warhol
Right.
multiple image. And we have, art and toys and it's a
Cap guns, uniforms. I mean, you've got it all.
sports memorabilia.
And the posters. And speaking of the circus, Eric Stromer's wife has worked with the circus. I saw you have some really vintage circus posters and little gadgets and even tickets, the tickets that you would get at the circus, right?
We have circus memorabilia, carnival memorabilia.
Yeah, interesting.
A lot of Ringling Brothers
Right.
memorabilia from the 40s and 50s.
Hmm.
Anything that's pop culture Americana, we're interested in.
So how do you know if something is not only of interest to a consumer, but is going to be of value as it relates to the time? I mean, how far back is it a collectible? Do you want it to not predate the 30s, or you just, as long as you love it, what the heck, it's going to sell?
If it appeals to my eye, that's the threshold. And
It's the Bernie threshold.
It's the Bernie threshold. we're great on the buy and so-so on the sell.
Okay. But when we come back, and we want you to give us some more tips on how to become a collector if we haven't really
and
started.
And also hot new trends in collecting, what you think is going to emerge here.
And do you look on eBay for things? Do you even go there, or
Well, I need a 10-step program to
I
get
bet.
me.
Okay, here we go. Raise your hand. All right, you're listening to Eric Stormer, Cindy Dole, Home Wizards, where we love to help you improve your home, improve your life. And if you love to collect things, don't go away, because so does Bernie Shine. And have you seen his place, Shine Collectibles? It's right here at the Grove, where we are as well. A special event, Eat, Drink, and Be Organized, presented by Marilat Cabinetry. It is a flashback in time. We're back after this.
Very much longer. I've got to keep control.
I like this song. I got to kind of get into the groove for a minute. You mind?
I can always tell when you start doing your arm dance and
I
you're kind of moving around.
We're moving, we're shaking.
Yeah.
That's what we do. Home Wizards, Eric Stormer, Cindy Dole. We are live at the Grove, where it is still a spectacular day.
It's glorious. I believe I got a little sun today, by the way.
Well, you always
A
work
deep
on
dark
that tan.
tan. That's right.
You don't
You know
have
I
to
am.
use that artificial cream anymore.
Thank goodness.
Anyway, we're here because it's the Eat, Drink, and Be Organized event that's presented by Marilat Cabinetry. Curtis Stone is cooking up a storm just across the way, and we're going to do some wine pairings with him after the show. So if you're nearby, please come by and say hi. But right now we're talking about vintage collectibles with Bernie Shine, who has a great place called Shine Collectibles.
I would
here at
almost
the Grove.
venture to say Bernie could be the king of collectibles.
Do you think you are
Yeah.
the king? He is the king.
Yeah.
Well, it's some honor.
Yeah.
It's a Shine Gallery, and it's on the south
Shine
side
Gallery.
of the original Farmers Market.
Right, right. And you've been getting like 2 thumbs up. LA's best, LA's most incredible from everybody. LA Magazine.
The LA Magazine, Best of
Home
LA.
Wizards.
Yeah, AOL is named us the Home Wizards.
Pretty much everybody loves this place.
Lots
Yeah.
of, yes.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing this?
Well,
Having a collectible store. I mean, if not here, other places.
yes, I had a store on Melrose originally years ago in the late 90s, or pardon me, early 90s, Shine Gallery. We dealt in high-end cartoon memorabilia. And then I started buying these warehouses full of vintage items, and this became a lot more fun. And
How many warehouses do you have?
oh my goodness. Well, I've purchased quite a few warehouses. I have enough inventory to last me if I live to be 200. I couldn't buy, I've got to be nuts to buy anything. I have way too many things, and people say, what do you do when you run out of this? And I said, boy, from your mouth to God's ears, run out of
I mean,
this.
do you have like an inventory? Are you like that kind of a nut where you know everything that you have?
No, I don't know everything I have. No.
It just feels good.
I'm some kind of a nut, but,
Is
I'm
it-
not an organized
Okay.
nut.
Some kind of a
But
nut.
is it at least organized by type in terms of what's in each warehouse of item?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So you got the Disney warehouse, and you got the
Well, the Disney's in my home.
all the Disney.
Oh,
No,
stuff.
that's sacred.
Okay.
That's in my home.
That's nice.
What do you think is the hot thing that's emerging
That we should
in
collect.
that we should collect
Yeah.
as
is wannabe
Yeah.
Bernies, you know?
Well, let me approach that from a different angle. Let me
Okay.
tell you what you shouldn't collect.
okay,
That's good.
Thank you.
I wouldn't buy anything that's limited edition or made for the collector's market. You want to collect something that becomes rare by attrition rather than design, because they keep pumping this stuff out. Limited edition this, limited
Is that a
edition.
scam?
Well, that's a strong word. but-
Okay.
It's a bit of a sales technique, I would
Okay.
imagine.
That's a softer.
Spin,
Okay.
spin. We'll
Yes.
use spin. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Um,
So if it says limited edition, ignore that.
I would if I.
It's kind of like Cher saying this is her final concert,
Oh,
Right?
for crying out loud. She'll never stop, Cher. Doggone
right?
it.
It's one of those.
Well, that's a good analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I would avoid anything that was limited edition or made for the collector's market, like collector's plates, and unless you just love them, then of course buy what you love. But it's better to fall in love with something that has the possibility of appreciating in value. So I like to buy the real deal, the real things. Yeah, and what you want to do, what you want to look for, it's good to start even as a kid. If they start a collection now of something that's pop culture now, by the time they're 40 or 50,
It's an investment, huh?
That's exactly right.
So you're teaching kids how to basically make money in the future, almost by saving and
But
having
and you want to make sure to retain the packaging and protect it, right?
Absolutely.
And leave the price tags on and
That's absolutely
right.
correct.
Okay.
kind of like coin collecting too, right?
Well, coin collecting bores the hell out of me, but I like things that I can look at that you don't have to sit there like some kind of.
A geek.
There's another strong word. Say, I'm much kinder than you are, Cindy.
I just put it out there.
Yeah. It's just,
Well, because I'm a geek. I mean,
Yeah.
I collect coins, and I collect. My dad collected not dollar bills, but currency from all over the world during World War II. And it stretches literally from one end of the house to the next, because he would Scotch tape it together. All the guys in the Air Force did this, and he called it his short snorter. And I think to this day it probably is worth something, because it has history, on these bills from all over, from China to Russia to Sweden to you name it. It's really kind of cool.
well, it is a huge field, and so is stamp collecting, but it just doesn't interest me.
That's fine.
It doesn't interest me in the terms. It's much too archival. I like things with a face on it.
Yeah.
So I had one time a very large Halloween collection because I love the visuals of these jack-o'-lantern, composition jack-o'-lanterns and things from Germany around the turn of the century.
So really, you're almost like an art collector, aren't you?
I look at it as art,
Uh-huh.
that I consider the objects to be kind of my mosaic, and I try to put them into a bigger
And it
picture.
also seems like Bernie creates what becomes popular rather than following the trend. I mean, you're somewhat of a pioneer, because I've never heard anyone speak of jack-o'-lanterns from Germany. I had no idea there were even those things.
Well, when I first started collecting Mickey Mouse, I can tell you that if you would go into a legitimate antique store and ask if they had any Mickey Mouse toys, they'd look at you like you had leprosy. You were really persona non grata, and I saw these items go in the 60s from the flea markets to the antique stores to the same auction houses that were auctioning the royal jewels were suddenly auctioning Mickey Mouse toys.
Wow.
So that's another thing we say, what to collect. Collect what you love, and don't be influenced by what other. So, for example, if you do love coins and bills, and if you like the minutia of looking at something like that, then by all means,
Sure.
collect what appeals to your eye.
Sure, sure. And how do you make sure that you aren't getting a fake? I mean, if you are really trying to make sure, let's say if Eric is encouraging his kids to collect certain things, and he wants to make sure that they are collecting what they're passionate about, but it becomes an investment for the future, you don't want to get duped. How do you know what you're collecting is the real?
You have to educate yourself, and the best education is to get out there and make a few mistakes because you learn from them. The other thing is to try to buy from reputable sources and reputable dealers, people that will stand behind it. If they tell you that it's old, then they'll stand behind that. And that's probably the most important thing, is know who. You need to do two things. You need to know what you're buying, and you need to know who you're buying it from.
And you were saying you have a little bit of an addiction to eBay.
Well, I'd say an addiction to the internet. I need a 10-step program
Well,
to
hey, step in line.
Okay, how about
right?
a strong interest? Okay, guys.
Yeah, so when you're on eBay, would you say that that's a good place to find some cool things, or is that kind of a iffy, route in terms of getting a great collectible?
Well, it can be good. Again, you need to know who you're buying from. You need to check their feedback. eBay does have a feedback program, and you want to be sure to do that. And I wouldn't, if someone has poor feedback, I don't care what they have, I'm probably not going to bid on their. I'm not going to bid on their items. But if you find if you find a good item with people with good feedback, of course, it's a good. The thing is, you want to be the last bidder, not the first. So wait until the end to do your bidding.
So when you buy something from your gallery, are you going to be presented not only with that item, but sort of a history of what it is and where it's from and why it's important, or do you just verbally talk about it, or are you just in there to buy whatever you like?
Well, we're glad to if people ask.
Yeah.
We're glad to share that with them. We have most of the items are labeled as to what they are and that sort of thing. We have knowledgeable salespeople in the store, so we do try to, if people are interested. But a lot of people just, everybody's their demographic. A kid will come in, he thinks it's cool. A older person will come in and it's nostalgic for them. I had an elderly fellow come in one time and he was buying some vintage Rose Bowl pennants from his old college from the 50s. As he's paying for it, he says, "Who buys all this junk?"
And you're like, me.
I said, "Sir, you just did."
Right.
Bernie Shine with Shine Gallery, and it's shinegallery.com.
Shinegallery.com.
And you're here at the Grove, and we'll check you out. Thank you for sharing some words of wisdom so that we aren't duped, and we also collect what we love, right?
It's been fun. My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Any
Bernie.
thoughts, Eric? Yeah, you going to collect something?
I'm never making another move
You're
in
gonna-
any way without consulting Bernie.
You're going to collect those German pumpkins. I
You know
feel.
I'm coming.
Well, as we say goodbye with a little song from Eric Stromer, this is him. This is him singing on
That's
the side,
right.
don't you know? We're going to have more fun next Saturday. Home Wizards, improve your home, improve your life. Be sure to check us out at yourhomewizards.com and check out the latest on my kitchen project. You'll see the selection of the cabinets at cindykitchenproject.com. Is that really you singing,
That
Eric
really
Stromer?
is, yeah, that's
Give us
big
some
today.
live singing. Yeah, come on.
See, there it is.
Keep going.
That's right. That's what we do here at the Grove.
Come on, because you're fixing,
Well,
man.
see, there's no change purse out here. I can't make any money now.
All right.
We gotta get a coin.
You got
a coin
it. Eric
thing going.
Stromer, Cindy Dole. Bye for now. Remember this, the key's under the mat. Bye-bye.